every year since the Portuguese Grand Prix was revived in 1985, the race has been an absolute cracker, and I don't see why this year should be any different. The 2.7-mile Eştoril Autodrome is a superb circuit. It has plenty of different corners, it has gradient, it has a long fast straight, and the drivers like it. This year's champion has got to be either Alain Prost or Ayrton Senna, who both have a comfortable lead over Ferrari's Nigel Mansell, the Williams drivers Riccardo Patrese and Thierry Boutsen, and Benetton's Alessandro Nannini.
Proudly sponsored by Honda, Toyo Tyres, Argiv Motor Oils and Redback Beer.
Good evening and welcome to the 13th round of this year's Formula One Drivers' Championship. Today, raced at the Estoril circuit near Portugal. In fact, the 15th time the Grand Prix has been won and run in this Mediterranean country. With us always is our former world champion, Alan Jones. Alan, Ayrton Senna again has claimed pole position. He's 10th for the season. He's 39th in his career, but he's upset the press boys by not attending the post-practice session conference. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I've always been a great believer that the guy's there to go motor racing, and he's very, very singular in his thinking, and he probably thinks there's plenty of time to talk to those guys later on. He'd be probably back at his motorhome getting the car organised, talking about the final setups, and I don't blame him for that.
So do you think there's enough demands on them as it is?
I think so. It's pretty hard work. They've got to condense a lot of work into those 4 days, and, you know, they can be mucked around a lot by press.
OK, Alan agreeing with Ayrton Senna's move there. Alan, let's recap on the Drivers' Championship, getting very interesting.
Yes, well, it is. I mean, Alain Prost is back in front. He's got those 20 points in front of Senna, but now he's got to start dropping points, and that is going to make it very interesting. Mansell's in 3rd place with 38, Patrese in 4th with 28, Boots and his teammate 5th on 24, and Alessandro Nannini in 6th place with 14. All right, now that we've looked at that, let's take this opportunity to cross to the voice of Formula One, Murray Walker.
Well, thanks, Alan. Here in sunny Estoril, the weather is absolutely perfect for today's Portuguese Grand Prix. That's round 13 of the 16-round World Championship. And it's absolutely wide open at the present moment. Either Ayrton Senna or Alain Prost could win the championship. It really depends on how many wins they each have at the end of the season. It's my personal opinion that the championship is going to go on to the last round in Adelaide, and won't Australia be pleased about that? The situation between Senna and Prost is really no better. They're not even telling each other what tyres they're going to be using for today's Portuguese Grand Prix. But there's a lot of other things of interest. The Ferraris are right up there. Nigel Mansell and Gerhard Berger have gone extremely well. Other snippets of information is that Bertrand Gachot, the Belgian driver, has been fired by the Onyx team. His place was taken in pre-qualifying by the Finnish driver J.J. Lehto, Keke Rosberg's protégé, and he jolly nearly pre-qualified. He'll be in the Onyx team for the rest of the year. The new Williams FW13 is here too, to be driven by Riccardo Patrese and Canadian Grand Prix winner Thierry Boutsen. They're not going as quick here as they will do later on in the season, but Patrick Head, the designer, is very pleased indeed with the way the car is developing with its Renault V10 engine. So today's race, my guess, is going to be between the Ferraris and the McLarens. There's one or two dark horses. For instance, Pierluigi Martini, the little Italian, went extremely well on Pirelli tyres in the qualifying sessions, but the Pirelli race tyre is not as good as the qualifier, and I don't expect him to be up in the actual race. No, it's going to be in the end analysis between Mansell, Prost, Berger and Senna. So that's the news from Portugal. The race is going to be starting in just a few minutes' time. There'll only be 3 rounds left after that, and we'll wait and see. So back to you, Alan.
Thanks very much, Murray. Well, good to see the new Williams there. It's looking forward to that.
It's qualified well. A couple of interesting things there too, that the final round could be Adelaide. Bodgie, that'll be a wonderful bonus for Australia.
I reckon it will go down to Adelaide. I really do.
Okay, we'll know all about that shortly. Plenty to talk about in this race. We'll take a quick break. Be back.
Und mit Ayrton Senna, dem Pole-Position-Mann und schnellsten im heutigen Aufwärmtraining, dem einzigen, der im Warm-Up unter 1,20 war, sage ich Ihnen jetzt Grüß Gott, liebe Motorsportfreunde. Herzlich willkommen aus Eschtoril in Portugal. Prost führt 20 Punkte vor Ayrton Senna. Nach Siegen steht es aber 5:4 für den Brasilianer. Prost beginnt heute mit den Streichpunkten, das heißt, er muss auf alle Fälle einen 5. Platz bereits streichen. Senna hat 5 Siege und einen 2. Platz, die besten 11 Ergebnisse zählen. Senna wird voll punkten. Prost führt um 20 Punkte, aber der Vorsprung ist realistisch betrachtet nicht ganz so groß. Nigel Mansell hat rein theoretisch noch eine Chance in der Weltmeisterschaft und diese Chance, das muss man aber sagen, ist sehr, sehr, sehr gering. McLaren Honda steht seit dem Grand Prix von Monza vor 2 Wochen endgültig als Gewinner der Konstrukteurwertung fest vor Williams Renault. Dieses Team setzt heute zum ersten Mal 2 neue Autos ein. 3. Ferrari, 4. Benetton, 5. Aeros und 6. Tyrrell. Sie wissen, die ersten 10 Plätze sind wichtig. Da gibt es Gratis-Tickets für die Überseeflüge, die ja sündteures Geld verschlingen. Und die stärksten 13 Teams können ohne Vorqualifikation am Formel-1-Training teilnehmen. Und es gibt im Augenblick eine Inflation von Formel-1-Fahrern und Grand Prix-Fahrern. Max Tour hat es richtig gesagt. Es hat noch nie einen so großen Unterschied gegeben zwischen Formel-1-Fahrern und Grand Prix-Fahrern. Sehr viele Formel-1-Fahrer versuchen sich zwar am Freitag in der Früh zu qualifizieren, aber haben noch nie einen Grand Prix bestritten. Ungefähr 80.000 Zuschauer heute im Autodrom von Estoril. Es ist ziemlich heiß, der Sommer ist hier noch voll in Geltung am südwestlichen Zipfel von Europa in Estoril, früher das Exil der europäischen Könige und Fürsten und seit 5 Jahren Schauplatz des Formel 1 Grand Prix von Portugal. 27 Grad, die Hitze wird also groß sein und die Reifen werden heute sicherlich eine wichtige Rolle spielen. Die meisten Fahrer werden heute mit C-Reifen der amerikanischen Reifenfirma ins Rennen gehen. Das heißt, sie müssen dann einmal wahrscheinlich Reifen wechseln und nur ganz wenige wie Palmer und Eddie Cheever versuchen es mit den etwas härteren Reifen B. Die Konkurrenz auf italienischen Reifen, die im Training sehr, sehr schnell war, nämlich 4 Autos auf italienischen Reifen unter den ersten 10 der Startaufstellung, werden sich mit den härtesten möglichen Reifen begnügen und dadurch versuchen, eine Serie von Boxenhalten zu verhindern. Über 60.000 Zuschauer, ein Schlüsselrennen zur Weltmeisterschaft und Ferrari im Aufwind. Seit dem 2. Platz von Gerhard Berger in Monza geht's aufwärts wieder bei den Italienern und wenn Ferrari heuer noch 2 der 4 ausständigen Grand Prix gewinnt, dann ist auf jeden Fall Prost Weltmeister und nicht Senna. Senna im Training 6 Zehntel vor Berger, dem Alain Prost gestern eine noch schnellere Rundenzeit vermasselt hat, hat sich heute früh dafür bei Gerhard Berger entschuldigt. In der zweiten Reihe Nigel Mansell und Alain Prost, die ersten beiden Reihen genau wie in Monza. Dann Sensationsfahrer im Training, Pierluigi Martini mit dem italienischen Minardi, Riccardo Patrese mit dem neuen Williams Renault FW13 zum ersten Mal dabei, Kaffee mit dem Dallara Ford trotz großer elektrischer Probleme, Putzel mit dem zweiten Williams Renault. Der Spanier Luis Perez Sala wärmt sich richtig auf für den spanischen Grand Prix nächsten Sonntag in Jerez. Martin Brandl und Modena. Modena hat ja heute im Aufwärmtraining einen defekten Stoßdämpfer. Johansson mit dem Onyx, der Sieger der Vorqualifikation am Freitagmorgen. Nannini hat sich sehr beschwert über diese bucklige Strecke, hat einige Schwierigkeiten mit den Reifen. Gugelmi mit dem March lebt immer noch von dem 3. Platz in Rio. Nur 4 Punkte für dieses Team bis jetzt in der Weltmeisterschaft. Der Coloni von Moreno überraschend qualifiziert. Pirro hat ja heute im Aufwärmtraining einen Dreher. Alliot mit dem Lola Lamborghini, 7 in Monza heute weit zurück. Palmer, Tyrrell fürs nächste Jahr noch ohne Vertrag. De Cesaris bleibt bei Dallara Ford. Piquet ist weit zurückgefallen im Abschlusstraining auf den 20. Platz. Michele Alboreto, der schon für Aeros unterschrieben hat fürs nächste Jahr. Derek Warwick, große Probleme mit Fehlzündungen und Motoraussetzern. Heute im Aufwärmtraining an der guten 4. Stelle. Der Routinier René Arnoux, Capelli voriges Jahr hier Zweiter, heuer noch ohne Punkte für die Weltmeisterschaft. Nakajima, der seine $3 Millionen zu Tyrrell mitnehmen wird im nächsten Jahr und Eddie Cheever, zuletzt in Monza nicht qualifiziert auf dem letzten Platz der Startaufstellung. Hier sehen Sie diese Arena, das Autodrom von Estoril, noch aus der Hubschrauberperspektive. Wir sind ungefähr 25 Kilometer von der Hauptstadt Lissabon entfernt, ungefähr 15 Kilometer von Cascais. Das ist die westlichste Stadt von Europa, zumindest des europäischen Kontinents. Hier sehen Sie den Ferrari von Gerhard Berger und Gordon Murray, der technische Direktor von McLaren, ist jetzt vorgegangen. Gerhard Berger steht also auf der linken Position und rechts innen 8 Meter vor ihm steht Ayrton Senna. Vielleicht ist dieser zweite Startplatz für Gerhard Berger sogar noch ein Vorteil, weil er schon eine saubere, eine Ideallinie vorfindet. Senna innen auf dem schmutzigen Teil der Fahrbahn. Aber warten wir, was in der ersten Kurve passiert. Ayrton Senna hat mir gestern gesagt, es ist mir wesentlich lieber, meinen nächstjährigen Teamkollegen, nämlich Gerhard Berger, neben mir stehen zu haben, als sonst irgendeinen anderen. Damit hat er wohl Prost oder Menzel gemeint. Und er hofft auf einen guten Start, freie Sicht, freie Strecke, und dann geht es darum, einfach das Rennen zu beenden und wenn möglich zu gewinnen. Senna hat die Chance oder die Hoffnung, heuer noch Weltmeister zu werden, nicht aufgegeben. Prost, wie gesagt, 20 Punkte Vorsprung. Nach den stürmischen Äußerungen von Alain Prost zuletzt in Monza, nach dem Theater, das es um die Pokale bei McLaren gegeben hat. Zuerst hat Alain Prost einen seiner beiden Pokale, die er vertraglich dem McLaren-Teamchef Ron Dennis geben muss, den italienischen Tifosi geschenkt, hat damit seinen Teamchef gekränkt und beleidigt. Ron Dennis hat daraufhin den zweiten Pokal genommen, hat ihn Prost hingehalten, hat gesagt, hier hast du deine Trophy, und als Prost hingreifen wollte, hat sie Ron Dennis fallen gelassen. Also ziemlich harte Bandagen im Team von McLaren, dicke Luft. Dazu kamen die Ankündigungen von Alain Prost, vor allem im ORF, wo er gesagt hat, ich werde höchstwahrscheinlich die Saison gar nicht zu Ende fahren. Unter diesen Bedingungen immer wieder benachteilt gegen Ayrton Senna, hat keinen Sinn. Wenn ich nicht mit gleichen Waffen, mit gleichem Material um die Weltmeisterschaft kämpfen kann, dann ist es besser, ich höre vor Saisonende bei McLaren auf. Es hat 3 Tage nach Monza dann eine stürmische Konferenz bei McLaren gegeben. Man hat sich auf ein Friedenskommuniqué geeinigt. Sie ist ungefähr 30 Zeilen lang. Ich will damit es nicht lang werden. Das Wichtigste ist, bevor Prost, da steht drinnen, wieder irgendwelche Äußerungen macht über technische Probleme bei McLaren oder eine mögliche Benachteiligung gegenüber dem Teamkollegen Ayrton Senna, muss er vorher mit dem Team und mit den Technikern seines Teams sprechen. Prost hat gestern, das haben wir Ihnen gestern Abend live aus Portugal berichtet, im Aufwärmtraining Gerhard Berger aufgehalten, hat sich heute früh dafür entschuldigt, kam plötzlich in den Wohnbus von Ferrari, hat gesagt, Gerhard, es tut mir leid, ich habe dich nicht gesehen.
Here's the grid now, off on their parade lap.
Yeah, well, Berger had that pretty horrific shunt at Imola, and I think it's taken him a little while to get his confidence back, and he's had a lot of bad luck with the car, but certainly he is a very fast, you know, tenacious sort of a driver, and he is coming back fairly strongly. I still say that this is the sort of circuit that will lend itself to Mansell, though, because it's very much a circuit in the same vein as Hungary. It's, you know, tight, twisty, very demanding sort of circuit physically on the drivers, and I think, well, let's hope we'll see Mansell up there giving the old McLarens a bit of a hurry up.
Is it a circuit that you like?
No, I didn't particularly like it. I only raced there once, and I was in that old Lola Ford thing that I had, but
We remember.
you know, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's a place called Eştoril. It's actually circuits at the back of Eştoril, which is a holiday resort in Portugal. It's a good circuit, not so bad to drive on, but I always had a tendency to judge circuits on where they were and how far away from the airport they were.
Well, it looks a demanding circuit.
It is. Oh, yeah, it is. Physically very demanding. It's there's a real big right-hander going onto the straight. You can just see it on the right-hand side of the circuit there, and it's bumpy, and it puts a lot of force on the front left-hand tyre of the car. And of course, it's very important how you come out of that big sweeper, because that determines your ultimate speed down that straight. And then it's a bit of an out-braking effort going on to the sharp right-angle right-hander that you can see at the end of the straight. We're just coming into that right-hander now. You can see the red line just coming up into it.
Alan, it seems an unusual circuit to test out a new car, which Williams are going to do today.
Well, you can bet your life they probably would have been doing some development and testing in sort of England or in other places. They would have had a few miles under their belt, but I mean, Patrick Head, you know, I think he's the best car designer, racing car designer in the world, and you know, to bring the car out of the box, so to speak, and have its first, you know, practice in anger and qualify in the third row of the grid's not real bad. And I've got a lot of, I'm looking forward with eagerness to see how that new car goes.
Very quickly, this business now dropping points. How does that work for Prost and Senna?
OK, well, now, Prost has to start dropping points from now on. Now, in other words, his worst result so far this year has been a 5th spot, which has given him 2 points. So if he wins today, he has to drop 2 points. So he only gets 7 points instead of 9. It's a bit complicated and I think possibly almost unnecessary because it's another thing in motor racing to confuse the general public.
Exactly. So, but both drivers still must win. Must keep winning.
Oh, yeah, very much it's down to a winning situation now. I mean, Prost still has to win races. He cannot afford now to get seconds and thirds because Senna will be up there winning. And I think this is what's going to make it very tight into Adelaide, hopefully.
All ready for the off of the Portuguese Grand Prix with, on the left of your picture in the front row for the 39th time in his incredible career, pole position Ayrton Senna. To his right, Gerhard Berger. Behind Senna is Mansell, and behind Berger is Prost. It is very hot here in Portugal, some 30 degrees, and tyres are going to be a critical factor in this race. There's a lot of secrecy about who is using which tyre. We are expecting some stops, and as ever, the first corner is going to be the most important one. Last year, the start was aborted twice. It's go, and Berger is ahead at the first corner. The first falling right-hand corner. Gerhard Berger leads, chops off Ayrton Senna, who has got Nigel Mansell right behind him. Mansell going for the inside. Prost is in 4th place. Martini, who qualified well, is still in 5th position. They have all got round that first vital turn together, and now they come uphill. Berger leads, Senna 2nd, Mansell 3rd, Prost 4th, Martini 5th, Patrese is 6th, then it's Alex Cathy in 7th place, and Thierry Boutsen is 8th, and Berger is fairly streaking away.
Yes, Berger doing his, what we've now come to expect, his trademark, a storming opening, made a very good start, using that semi-automatic gearbox to good effect, as he's shown in several races this year. He's always been quick off the line, and he out-muscled Ayrton Senna into the first corner. Senna had the inside line, but could only get alongside. Berger wasn't having any of it. And look at him flying around the opening lap. Now, no rush for Senna. He's going to settle down, size things up, because overtaking is pretty difficult here in Portugal and requires a bit of tactics. So Senna won't be chasing Berger hard at the moment. I'm sure he'll be playing in, trying to bring his tyres in gently and get the race established.
And watch little Pierluigi Martini in 5th position. There is only one compound of Pirelli tyre. Most of the runners are on Goodyears, which have been so successful over the year, but now they're having a challenge. Berger is really taking his opportunity with a clear track. Of course, he did extremely well at Monza by finishing in 2nd place to score his first ever points of 1989. And Ayrton Senna would be just as worried about a Ferrari winning, well, almost as worried as he would be if his teammate and rival Alain Prost won. You can see the gap for yourselves now. This course has got a lot of corners of different varieties. It's got a 180-mile-an-hour straight. And as now, Gerhard Berger in the 7-speed V12 Ferrari, and the horsepower is only about 10 or 15 less than the Honda now, so there's not much in it. And the chassis, designed by John Barnard, handles so well that Berger looks as though he's pulling away.
Yes, he certainly is, and this does not correspond with either qualifying form or, with more importantly, with form in the warm-up this morning. Berger was not as quick as Senna or Mansell this morning. Now, we'll get the gap as he goes across the line, but last time it was over 2 seconds, and Mansell having a look at the back of Senna, and the Ferraris are pretty quick on the straight today. They are matching the McLarens on straight line speed. Mansell didn't really get to have a look then, he just couldn't tow up alongside. But it looks as if we've got a bit of a race on our hands.
Indeed we have, with the two Ferraris sandwiching Ayrton Senna's McLaren Honda. Alain Prost, the World Championship leader, in 4th position. Berger's first lap was 1 minute 26.8 to lead Senna by 2.1 seconds.
And Mansell, as you can see, is swarming all over the gearbox of Senna's McLaren. Ayrton Senna in the yellow helmet, the red and white car, the V10 Honda engine, and the race order is Berger leads, Senna, Mansell second and third, Prost is fourth, Martini is in fifth place, Patrese is sixth, Cathy is seventh, Boutsen eighth, Brundle is ninth, Modena 10th, and it's Sala, Johansson, Nannini. And here come the second and third through turn 10, climbing still into the long turn 11. They come out of this at about 150 miles an hour, up into sixth gear for the McLaren, seventh gear eventually for the Ferraris. This is where Mansell had to go at Senna last time. He's almost close enough at the present moment, I saw it, and now this is we're riding with Nigel Mansell, and that is Ayrton Senna ahead. I hope they show us a lot more of the drivers' cameras, because they are on both the Ferraris. The leader, Gerhard Berger, who is now 4.1 seconds on lap 3, ahead of this battle for second between Senna and Mansell.
Yes, and Berger is pulling away quite steadily from Senna, but Berger is going very much the sort of speed he went in the warm-up this morning, whereas Senna is not going as quickly as he did. So whether Senna has gone the wrong way on chassis setup, or maybe his engine's not performing fully, well, certainly his engine looked and sounded all right on the straight, because Mansell came onto the straight, and now you see the oil and mark up from the back of Senna's car on the camera lens, hence the slightly hazy picture. That can be operated externally in order to clean that lens. We'll probably see that in a moment. It's done pretty frequently. And a tremendous view from Mansell's car. Looking at the back of Senna, we now look down on Ayrton Senna. And certainly as they got onto the start-finish straight last time, Mansell was perfectly placed. Now, here they are again. Mansell not quite as close this time. But you'll see that he's not really gaining ground from the slipstream. So Ferrari, Honda still have plenty of power.
Yeah, can I just make a point there that James pointed out about the muck on the camera lens? The Honda engine has, in the last few races, been throwing out quite a lot of oil, and that muck and oil which is on the camera lens of Mansell's Ferrari will also be on Nigel Mansell's visor, which won't help him at all. You can see how close he is to Senna now. The gap between Berger leading and Senna is 5.5 seconds, and that is a great deal at this stage of the race. Prost is still fourth, Martini hanging on in the Minardi in fifth position, then it's Patrese and Boutsen in the two Williams. That's the new FW13 Williams.
And Mansell is now really looking for a way to get around Senna. It's not going to be an easy task, that we know, particularly in view of the fact that although Ferrari have improved their V12 engine, it's still the Honda is still the class of the field in terms of power. Of course, now here we see from Mansell's cockpit, you see the feedback, the jarring through the steering wheel that you get from these big tires. You get an impression of some of the physical effort required to hold that wheel where you want it as they go through the corners. So, Senna, Berger now 6.5 seconds ahead of Ayrton Senna and continuing to pull away. Meanwhile, Mansell continuing to look for a way around Senna, and Prost, who's looked pretty dejected on the racetrack all weekend and certainly looked no different the first few laps, is beginning to catch Senna again. Just by at a glance, I would have said Prost is not falling back any further.
So there's the battle. And you can see Alain Prost in the background. He's just about 1.8 seconds behind Nigel Mansell that we're looking at in third position. Mansell third, Prost fourth. And Ayrton Senna can count all the points he gets in this race in the World Championship. He's only scored 6 times. The best 11 scores count. Alain Prost has already scored 11 times, 20 points ahead. They're now up towards turn 8. Turn 10 now, into turn 11 again. These corners do not have names, sadly, at Portugal. It takes a lot of the charisma out of it. And there is the gap, Senna to Berger, 6.5 seconds.
And good news for the Onyx team, who have had quite a struggle this season. They've got a very good little car, but Stefan Johansson, and they were very unlucky on Friday in pre-qualifying when JJ Leto in his Grand Prix debut showed tremendous form in the car, but they had a mechanical problem just over 10 minutes to go in the session, never got onto qualifying tyres and missed it by 1 place, and that was sheer bad luck because he'd been the star of the show. And still Mansell pressing away at Senna, and Stefan Johansson, though, representing the team, the Onyx team, is now up into 9th place.
Yes, there's the race order, and there are the gaps. Berger, Senna, Mansell, first, second, third. Prost in 4th position, holding a watching brief. Pierluigi Martini, the highest he's ever been in a Grand Prix, in 5th place, followed by the 2 Williams of Patrese and Boutsen. 6th and 7th. Alex Cathy is in 8th place. You're looking now at Senna's car ahead of Nigel Mansell. Watch Mansell's fingers, if you can, underneath the steering wheel. They operate the rocking levers on the left and right of the steering wheel underneath the rim, which control the hydraulics of the semi-automatic gearbox. It has an electronic brain which blips the engine for the driver when he's changing down, and there you can see Alain Prost is inching up on Senna and Mansell, and now surely Mansell can go for it here. He's out from behind, and he's going through. Nigel Mansell up into 2nd place, Ferrari 1st and 2nd on lap 8 of the Portuguese Grand Prix, and already Mansell is starting to pull away from Senna.
Yes, well, he was running so close behind him, it was quite clear that Mansell was going to be able to go noticeably quicker, to tuck that closely under the wing of a car in front. And here we see again Mansell pulling out, and Senna doesn't really fight it. He knows that Mansell's got the corner, gives him plenty of space, and now we see it from the cockpit. Tremendous. This is good use of the onboard camera on the straight now, coming up into the braking area, just towing up. Mansell pulls out. Still, his momentum hasn't reached the braking area yet. And so, good news for the spreading of the standard of motor racing, of getting more than just the one team formula that it's been for so long. Ferrari's 1 and 2, McLaren's chasing for a change, but the person for whom this is probably the best news of all is Alain Prost, because of his World Championship situation. I'll come back to you when Murray's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, look at Alain Prost, because he is getting very much closer to Ayrton Senna. And now this is history for 1989, Ferrari's 1st and 2nd. And look at Pierluigi Martini behind Alain Prost, holding on magnificently, but only just ahead of Patrese in 6th position and Thierry Boutsen in 7th place. And at the present moment, it's Berger fastest on the circuit, 1 minute 21.6 so far.
Yes, going back to what I was saying, it being good news for Prost, was that, of course, if Senna now needs to win races to be able to wrest the championship from Prost, this 20-point lead that Prost has would shrink with dropped races from Prost, remembering, of course, only your best 11 count, but Senna has to do it with wins.
And Alain Prost, with that 20-point lead, is seeing Ayrton Senna get closer and closer, but watch behind the little Frenchman when the producer gives us the opportunity, because Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi is driving a superlatively good race. He is only about 2 seconds behind Alain Prost now in 5th position, ahead of both the FW13 Williams with their Renault Tony. There is Berger completing his 9th lap.
Yes, and remember that the Minardi cars have a substantial power disadvantage over the leading 4 cars, the 2 McLarens, 2 Ferraris, and also, for that matter, over the Williams Renaults, who, of course, Martini is currently heading. And albeit with them in instant line astern, and there's Mansell, new fastest lap of the race, having got past Senna. Mansell is trying to get away from him and is 1.5 seconds up. The Minardi, suddenly the car has really worked well, because not only did Luigi Martini qualify very well here, but his teammate, Sala, qualified well up on the grid as well. So they've got the Minardi chassis working exceptionally well, considering that it is, of course, on a customer engine and not with substantially less power than the cars we're looking at now.
The car we're looking at now has got the best chassis of them all. It is now acknowledged. John Barnard, the man who put McLaren at the top originally, designed this chassis with his colleagues at Maranello in Ferrari. At least it was designed at Guildford, to be absolutely clear. And you can see now, there's the gap between Berger, the leader, and Mansell in second place, with Prost in fourth place, getting closer to Berger in third, and not very much ahead of this three-car battle between Martini, Patrese and Boutsen.
And more importantly, another new fastest lap for Nigel Mansell, and he looks like a man who means serious business over his teammate Gerhard Berger. I get the impression that Mansell has set off after Berger with a vengeance. So he's now lapping, well, his last lap was some 1 second quicker than Gerhard Berger.
But not yet a new lap record, which Berger put up last year in the F187 turbocharged V6 Ferrari. 1 minute 19.28 is their target for a lap record here. And let's talk very quickly about tyres as you watch Nigel Mansell challenging Berger and pulling away from Ayrton Senna. Mansell in second place is running on C compound Goodyear tyres. Now those are softish, the B compound is harder, and it could mean, doesn't necessarily, but it could mean that they will be coming in for a pit stop sometime after lap 20.
And Stefan Johansson in the Onyx has moved up another place to 8th, and this certainly confirms the very good form the car has showed here this weekend. Apart from a slow day on Friday in the first qualifying session, he was pretty quick yesterday, and he was very quick in the warm-up this morning. And the Onyx team, of course, desperately need World Championship points to get into the top 20 cars who get their trouble free and get into the race without pre-qualifying.
Senna in third position you are looking at. Prost there getting ever closer in fourth position. Now Patrese, if we see him, is starting to have a go at Martini. You are watching Ayrton Senna. Ahead of him, the two Ferraris, Berger and Mansell. There is Mansell. In the background, Alain Prost. The two Ferraris are separated by about 2 seconds. Gerhard Berger is consistently the fastest. His gap now between himself and Mansell is 7.7 seconds, and the race order on lap 12 out of 71 in the Portuguese Grand Prix. Gerhard Berger, Ferrari leads, Mansell Ferrari second, Senna and Prost, McLaren Hondas third and fourth. Fifth is Martini in the Minardi. That's the highest they've been in a Grand Prix this year, or ever. Sixth is Patrese, Williams, seventh Boutsen, Williams, eighth Johansson, as James has told us, in the Onyx. Then, in ninth position, as Berger crosses the line, it is Alex Caffey, the little Italian in the Dallara. And you can see that the Ferrari, which has got about 650 horsepower, is handling beautifully here.
Yes, it certainly is. Mansell's car, when we were looking from on board, looked very comfortable to drive to me. And that's Roberto Moreno, stopped out on the circuit. Now, he had a bit of a frightening shunt in practice yesterday when he tangled with another car, I believe it was Derek Warwick, and flew over the top of it. But he got him running again, but trouble has stopped him. No, and the other thing with the Ferraris, as I say, the car is looking very forgiving to drive, and that is certainly what the drivers say about it. You can get it out of shape, and it's got no vices. And Mansell is charging. He pulled another half second, by the way, on Berger on the last lap.
Nigel Mansell in second place. Martin Brundle is the next British driver. He is in 10th position. Jonathan Palmer in the Tyrrell is in 15th place. Derek Warwick, who started well down, is in 20th position. Johnny Herbert, of course, sadly, because he was very sick yesterday, failed to qualify. Gerhard Berger completes lap 13. Now let's see what the gap is as Nigel Mansell approaches the finishing line and crosses it now. And it's 6.7 seconds. Mansell is lapping 0.6 of a second faster than Berger. There is Prost. There is Martini. Here he is with the two Williams behind him. Martini 5th, Patrese 6th, Boutsen 7th. And you're looking in a race now at the FW13 Williams-Renault. It's the first time it's raced. Qualified well under the circumstances. They've got some glitches in the front suspension they've got to iron out. And Thierry Boutsen looks as though he is not at all happy with 7th place. Wants to take 6th from Riccardo Patrese. Well, I say again, with a very high tarmac temperature and a very high cockpit temperature, the drivers are going to be suffering, and so are the tyres. It's lap 14 now. I say again, we can expect a tyre change any time from about lap 20 onwards, if there is going to be one. But, for instance, the March people were hoping, and Maurizio Gugelmin is in 12th position, hoping and indeed expecting to go through non-stop on the C compound Goodyears. There's Martini. That's the man that everybody used to laugh at when he first came into Formula One from Formula 3000 some years ago. He was way over his head. He had the sense, having failed to do well, to go back to Formula 3000 where he did extremely well, finished second in the championship one year, came back to Minardi and scored their first ever point. And now he's being very much sought after by other teams. He has done so well this year and has actually re-signed for Minardi in 1990. There's Patrese. He's got an excellent record behind him in 1989. 3 second places, a third and 2 fourths already. And now Gerhard Berger on lap 15. What a strange thing it is to say this. Gerhard Berger leading because he's had such a terrible season this year, and he's leading by 6.5 seconds, lapping slower than Nigel Mansell, his teammate, who is once again in 2nd place in the Ferrari, because Mansell has had an incomparably better season than Berger. Senna is now 4 seconds behind Mansell, 2.2 seconds ahead of Prost in 4th place. And you're looking at the battle between Martini 5th, Patrese 6th, Thierry Boutsen just out of the points in 7th place. Climbing this Portuguese circuit at Estoril is a beautiful circuit, wonderful countryside around it, and it has gradients. There's Prost, and here's the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th.
There's a stationary yellow flag just in the corner of the shot there, just that's to notify a parked car beside the track. It's the danger sign. And Mansell is still just chipping away at Berger's lead, but it really is very little chips. It's 6.5 seconds he is behind Berger, and at the same time that's allowing him to edge away from Ayrton Senna, just over 4 seconds now. And Prost, in turn, is shadowing Senna, but I'm quite sure, as far as the World Championship is concerned, Prost will be quite happy just to shadow Senna now.
Yeah, incidentally, as we look at Martini, chased by the 2 Williams, I maligned him and his teammate Sala earlier on. I'd forgotten that Pierluigi Martini that we're looking at actually finished an excellent 5th in the British Grand Prix, and Luis Sala, the Spaniard, who'll be racing in his own home Grand Prix next weekend at Jerez, finished 6th at Britain to score his first ever World Championship point. Well, the race is settling down. I don't know how the tyres are doing, only the drivers know that, but I can tell you that the Ferraris are now very well settled in 1st and 2nd places, that Nigel Mansell is consistently quicker than Berger. He's got the gap down now to under 6 seconds, and he's lapped at 1 minute 20.49 compared with the lap record of 1:19.2. So it's a V12 Ferrari leading, a V12 Ferrari second, then the V10 Hondas of Senna and Prost.
Yes, if conditions stay good and the race stays competitive up front, I would expect that record to go before the end of the race today. As the fuel loads come down and they put on fresh tyres, that's assuming, of course, that the leaders have the need to do that. If they do that in the second half of the race, I would expect the lap record to take a bit of a beating.
Yeah, we look at Martini. There he is, number 23 in the very distinctively coloured Minardi, and the man from Ravenna. This is his 37th Grand Prix. The highest he's ever finished is in 5th position. It's a wonderful fillip for Pirelli, because they were saying to me earlier on that they didn't expect their race tyre, as opposed to the qualifying tyre, which was extremely good yesterday to be too good here today in the race? Well, we'll see. They may start to wear. It's only fair to point out that their competitors, Goodyear, have got tyres on all the leading cars. There is one of them. It's Alain Prost in 4th position. And this race thus far is an absolute disaster for Ayrton Senna. He needs very badly to win it. He's had an incredible record this year with 6 scores, and 5 of them have been first and 1 of them have been a second place. But only to be in 3rd place with Prost behind him in 4th position is no use to Senna at all. It's not much use to Prost either, for that matter. He has to discard points from now on, and if he finishes 4th, he will only have 1 finish lower than 4th, and that is the 5th place that he had in Mexico. So he would gain 1 point only. So on lap 18 of a comparatively static Portuguese Grand Prix at the moment, but with a very heartening and different sight at the front, Gerhard Berger leads Nigel Mansell. Ferraris both by 5.5 seconds. Mansell still lapping faster. Then it's the 2 McLaren Hondas of Senna and Prost, 3rd and 4th. Martini is still 5th, and now that, I'm just checking which Ferrari that is. That's Gerhard Berger's Ferrari.
Yes, that's Berger up on the first of the back markers. So Berger starting to lap the tail enders now.
Yeah, now let's see, let's spot who that's likely to be. Well, I can't tell you. But the good news for British team aficionados, and that's bad news for Andrea De Cesaris. Andrea De Cesaris out in the Dallara, and that was lap 19 that he retired on. So Marino is out, De Cesaris is out. We're riding with Gerhard Berger now in the Ferrari. Let's spot where he is on the course.
Yes, and that was one of the Ligiers that he passed, but there's a huge gaggle of traffic in front of Berger, just ahead of him, and not that far ahead. We can see the back of them now, but we will see a gaggle. I didn't actually count them just then as I was looking out of the window from where we don't have a particularly good view, but it looks like at least half a dozen cars all battling away, and this isn't going to be easy for Gerhard to get through them. But remember, he's a charger in the Senna mode, and there is the gaggle. And it was about 6 cars, too.
And the first one he has to take with Mansell passing Arnoux and closing up definitely on Berger. The first one that Berger has to pass is Eddie Cheever in the Arrows, who is below 20th position, I can tell you that.
Yes, and that gained Mansell a lot. Well, rather, Berger lost a lot of time on that lap behind Arnoux. And Mansell was lucky because he caught Arnoux on the straight and didn't lose any time over it. So the gap now is, well, it's visual. It's 2.5 seconds.
Eddie Cheever gesticulating furiously at one of the Lola cars. It's either Alboreto or Alio. Now we're going to see Gerhard Berger and how he copes with this traffic, and Mansell will close right up on him. I'm absolutely sure of that. That's Cheever, and Berger absolutely blasts past the Arrows. Now where is Mansell? Look for Nigel Mansell in the background. Coming up to the Lola now. And in front of the Lola is Emanuele Pirro. It's Alboreto in front of Berger now, and it's Pirro in front of Alboreto. Both about to be lapped by the Ferrari, which is on lap 20.
Yes, very frustrating for Berger, this, to get that bigger group in front of him. He might be able to do one of the cars on the straight, but of course they're helping each other with the tow. And look at the power of the Lamborghini engine. Berger and the Ferrari can do nothing about that. So Mansell goes onto his tail. And a chance for Mansell to challenge for the lead now with the help of the traffic.
On lap 20 out of 71, Berger has got to get past Alboreto and Pirro smartly here. He's past Emanuele Pirro. So is Nigel Mansell behind him, and now Mansell and Berger in their Ferraris on lap 20 in this 71 lap race are absolutely together. You can see for yourselves, if Berger puts a wheel wrong, Mansell can grasp his opportunity, as he did in Hungary when he passed Senna, and he had a go there. He thought he would rattle Berger as Berger passes Michele Alboreto, and now the Austrian Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari has got a clearer track as Eddie Cheever tackles Michele Alboreto, who is now a lap behind the two flying Ferraris. in one of the best Grand Prix we've had in 1989, and we're with Nigel Mansell. Now this is, he's just cleared turn 8 into turn 9, back into third gear. Accelerating into turn 11, which is the long 150-mile-an-hour right-hander, which leads into the start and finish straight to complete their 21st lap. They're coming up to Derek Warwick now, who is in 20th position. So, Mansell second, Berger leads. You can see the sparks flying off the titanium skid plates underneath their Ferraris. The ride height is very low indeed. Derek Warwick will see the two Ferraris coming up in his mirror, and no doubt, the experienced gentleman driver that he is, he will move over.
Well, through all that mess and excitement with the back markers, the one thing that was very significant to me was the apparent prodigious power of the Lamborghini engine, which was very impressive, much to the frustration of Gerhard Berger, who was hoping to get tucked in on the toe on the straight and get past it. Didn't really even pull up to it. But that certainly served to bring us the two Ferraris together. So now we have a battle for the lead. Senna is picking his way through the traffic, with Prost picking it even more carefully behind him.
Yeah, Ayrton Senna's actually closed up. He's just 2.7 seconds behind Nigel Mansell in second place. So Senna, with his famous courage, has obviously absolutely sized through the traffic. Not the Berger and Mansell, and we're riding with Mansell now. Took their time about it. They're down the finishing straight, up to 180 miles an hour as they go past the giant grandstand on the left. Into turn 1, fourth gear, 145 miles an hour. Berger leads, Mansell second. This is lap 22. The gap between Mansell in second place and Senna in third has increased to 3 seconds. Prost is still fourth, Martini fifth, Patrese sixth, Boutsen seventh, and those three are still absolutely together. But it's a riveting fight between two of the top 4 drivers in the world now. Gerhard Berger from Austria, who will be leaving Ferrari and going to McLaren in 1990, and Nigel Mansell, who is staying with the Italian team to be joined by double world champion Alain Prost, who, as you see, is in 4th position, and I should imagine comparatively content with that. If he could improve one place, it would help him a great deal, particularly as he would be improving at the expense of his teammate Senna, with Mansell again. And now watch Berger in front as he comes up to Derek Warwick, and in front of Warwick I think is Nakajima, or is it the other way round? We'll soon see. Yes, the other way round. Warwick has got ahead of Nakajima, and now Mansell sees his opportunity. He's up alongside Gerhard Berger, and he's going through into the lead. He's on the inside. And that's Warwick passing Modena, and Mansell passes Warwick, and now Nigel Mansell leads on lap 23 of the Portuguese Grand Prix. Gerhard Berger passes Modena. Senna is closing up on all of them. What an absolutely fabulous scrap at the front.
Amazing stuff. It was difficult to see with the head-on camera there, but I have a feeling that Nigel might have rather cleverly boxed Berger in, but just before this, and Berger then couldn't come out. Because he would have driven into Mansell, couldn't go left because of the grass, and in fact he didn't get past anybody, so until after they'd made the first corner. So very dramatic. Here we see from Mansell's point of view up the straight, and he's got Berger beside him, and I don't think Berger's got anywhere to go, but Chiva pulls out, giving Mansell more Warwick rather pulls out, giving Mansell more toe, and Mansell slingshots past both the back markers. So Nigel Mansell, in tremendous style, takes the lead of the Portuguese Grand Prix.
Yes, Nigel Mansell, who won, of course, in Brazil, who his first race for Ferrari, who won in Hungary, but look at Senna. Senna is attacking again, and the Brazilian is very quick indeed. He's much, much closer to Gerhard Berger. The gap is well under the 2.5 seconds it was at the end of the previous lap, but now on lap 24, Ferrari's first and second. There is Senna in third place. Alain Prost is dropping back now. He's 4.5 seconds behind Senna, but Martini, who is still only 3.8 seconds behind fourth place man Alain Prost, still leads Ricardo Patrese in 6th position. Boutsen in 7th place. Johansson is in 8th position. Behind Stefan Johansson, it's Nannini 9th. Caffey 10th. Brundle 11th. Guterman is 12th. PK 13th. Palmer is in 14th place. Alio is 15th. And Senna is now ahead of Louis Sala, who is Martini's teammate in the Minardi. You watch the race leader, Nigel Mansell.
Yes, and Martini himself, you see it now, is only 11 seconds away from Mansell, who's leading. So we have to thank this traffic because they've closed, they've forced the leaders back closer together again as they've had to thread their way through and educate, or the leader, firstly Berger and then Mansell, has had to educate the traffic to the arrival of the leaders. And therefore the usual thing happens is that the leader of the race has to do all the work, alerting the traffic to his arrival, and then of course they're more alert and let the others through more easily. So there's always an advantage. You always gain, or normally gain, from traffic when you're behind.
Nigel Mansell, Gerhard Berger und Ayrton Senna. Dann mit 5,5 Sekunden Rückstand Alain Prost Vierter. 3,5 Sekunden hinter Prost, der erstaunliche Pierluigi Martini mit dem Minardi, Forsma, Patrese, Boutsen und Johansson. Mansell, Berger, Senna. Was könnte man sagen, ein König-Sprint heute in diesem Grand-Prix von Portugal in Estoril. Denn die besten 4 Fahrer der Welt liegen auf den ersten 4 Plätzen. Warum ist Moreno ausgeschieden? Der Motor hat plötzlich ausgesetzt. Das wird über Funk von den Boxen gemeldet. Ansonsten nur ausgeschieden Andrea De Cesario ist ja auch im nächsten Jahr für Dallara fahren wird. So, jetzt könnte dem Japaner Satoru Nakajima eine wesentliche Rolle zukommen in den nächsten Runden. Menz hat Nakajima schon überrundet. Berger und Senna müssen an Nakajima vorbei. Links kommt der March-Fahrer Capelli an die Box. Capelli voriges Jahr hier Zweiter, ich habe es Ihnen gesagt, aber heuer noch ohne Punkte für die Weltmeisterschaft. Ein Fall wie Gerhard Berger, der ja in Monza vor 2 Wochen mit dem 2. Platz zum ersten Mal in diesem Jahr, zum ersten Mal nach 12 Ausfällen hintereinander ins Ziel gekommen war. Nakajima macht Platz, fährt nicht die Kampflinie, fährt nicht die Ideallinie, bleibt ganz außen und damit sind Berger und Senna jetzt an Nakajima vorbei. Das Rennen ist jetzt wieder etwas schneller geworden. Menzel 1,21,7, Senna 1,21,7, Berger 1,21,8, aber Prost nur noch 1,22,0. 1,2 zwischen Menzel und Berger. Das Fahrverhalten der Autos ändert sich mehrmals in diesem Grand Prix. Emanuele Pirro in der Benetton-Box. Neue Reifen bekommen in der 27. Runde. Boxenstopp von Pirro. Für das nächste Jahr noch ohne Vertrag der vorjährige Testpilot von McLaren, der unbelohnte 3. Mann des Teams.
Maneuver. The rest of the leads in Berger. Senna in 3rd, Prost 4th, Martini 5th, Patrese 6th. Senna is starting to make some inroads onto Berger. I think what he may have been doing is perhaps looking after his tyres in the early part of the race, and it'll be interesting to see if he makes a tyre stop or whether they've worked out by looking after the tyres, particularly that front left-hand one through that big sweeping right-hander onto the straight, that they might be able to get through. But it would appear that he's probably been looking after those tyres a little bit, and now that he's lightened his fuel load and taken the load off it, he may be now making a charge. That'll be interesting to look out for. All right, we'll go. Okay, there's Prost in the pits. So that may be a signal that Senna's going to be in shortly, or Prost may have started on some softer compounds, but we'll certainly see in the next couple of laps. We'll go now back to Murray Walker and James Hunt trackside at Portugal.
Race, well before half distance is actually halfway through the work that the tyres have to do.
Yes, and don't forget Alain Prost, he's won this Portuguese Grand Prix 3 times, 1984, 1987, 1988. And Alain Prost was on Goodyear C tyres, the softer compound ones. So is Gerhard Berger there in 2nd place. So is Nigel Mansell ahead of Berger in the lead. It is therefore by no means inconceivable that they will be coming in. There is Senna in third position. He's got ahead of Brundle.
Certainly, I think if I was in Berger's position, I'd be wanting to come in for tyres now, unless, of course, one is toying with the idea of trying to go the distance. He may just wait for news of Prost's tyres, if Ferrari can get that from Goodyear. Then have a look at the wear rate on the tyres that came off Prost's car. That's the disadvantage of being first in for tyres when it's marginal, is of course you're then giving the information then inevitably goes on to other people.
So there is an added factor to consider on lap 29 as we look at Nigel Mansell. What an incredible move it was of Mansell's. There were so many people, and I must say that I had my doubts, who said that he wouldn't settle down well in an Italian team. It would be oil and water. Anglo-Saxon and Italian temperaments would clash. He has settled down like a duck takes to water. He's tremendously popular with the Italians, who love a hard, charging racer, and that is exactly what Mansell is. His mechanics adore him. The crowds certainly do all around the world, and in Italy 2 weeks ago he got a fantastic reception. And Gerhard Berger is certainly not giving up as Mansell crosses the line to complete his 29th lap. The gap between him and Berger is down to 1.6 seconds. Berger lapping marginally faster. Senna is lapping faster than both of them. 1 minute 20.6 for Senna, 1 minute 20.9 for Mansell, 1 minute 20.7 for Berger. And Martini is now up into fourth place. Patrese is fifth. Boutsen is sixth, and that, of course, is because Alain Prost has been in for tyres. The first of the front runners. He did so on lap 28. We just completed lap 29. Alain Prost, in fact, is in 8th place, and ahead of him is Stefan Johansson in the Onyx, the sole Onyx, with JJ Leto having failed to pre-qualify by just a whisker on Friday morning.
And Prost's first flying lap on the fresh tyres has been his fastest lap of the race so far, and he's got a bit of a clear track in front of him. So he should be able to use his new rubber to good effect and try and get back up towards the leaders, and hope that when the others change tyres who are ahead of him on the road, that when they come out, they get into traffic straight away.
Prost is actually 36 seconds behind Mansell that we are riding with now. And that's on the 30th lap, on the 31st lap, because Mansell's just completed it. But of course, a lot of those seconds would have been accounted for slowing down to come into the pit, stopping, having his tyres changed. I didn't take the actual stop time, and it would have been about 8 seconds, and then he had to accelerate and get up to racing speed again. So we'll be watching Alain Prost very carefully indeed at the moment. Now on lap 30 with 31 with 40 still to go. Long, long way in this very, very, very hot race. The sun is beating down out of a completely clear blue sky. Nigel Mansell leads. There is Berger in second place. You'll see very closely behind him, about 2 seconds behind him, Ayrton Senna in the McLaren Honda, the world champion, and who is currently in second place in this year's World Championship, 20 points behind Prost, and the gap between Mansell and Berger is 2 seconds. You saw Senna in the background. Martini is still fourth. He's 1 second ahead of Patrese, fifth, who is less than a second ahead of Boutsen in sixth position. Seventh is Johansson, being caught by Prost, who is eighth. Manini is ninth, Gugelmin is 10th, Piquet is in 11th place, Palmer is in 12th position, Brundle is 15th, and Warwick is 18th. Over the line, Ayrton Senna, third place. Never give up is a racing driver's motto.
Yes, tremendous battle between these three cars at the front, and Senna certainly showing no signs of giving up, but things seem to be going better for him now than they were in the opening laps of the race. But tyre changes, if not an immediate plan, a little wheel off there by Senna, but no problem. He just let it ride the curve, and as he came to the end of the curve, just went onto the earth there and thought up that. So he got a bit of a twitch. And new fastest lap of the race for Alain Prost, not surprisingly, as he's on the freshest tyres at the moment, but still a long way back from the leaders, over half a minute altogether.
Yes, Alain Prost has got a lot to do, and unless the others come in for tyres ahead of him, that is to say Mansell, Berger and Senna, he is not going to be able to do it. Even Prost, who's been accused of, again, of losing motivation after his astounding outburst after the Italian Grand Prix, when he accused McLaren and Honda of favouring Ayrton Senna in terms of equipment, which of course was vigorously denied, but he certainly seems to have got his motivation back here.
Yes, but he didn't hold fast to that for very long, because Nigel Mansell, on old rubber, remember, he hasn't been for tyres yet, has just gone marginally quicker.
I talked to John Barnard, the Ferrari designer, just before the race began, to ask what tyres Mansell and Berger would be on, and he said, well, certainly Mansell C's soft and probably Berger B, the harder ones, although it turned out that they both started on C's. And I said, does that mean to say that Nigel is harder on tyres, that Berger is harder on tyres than Mansell? No, came the answer, but we had a bigger wing on the back of Berger's car, more downforce, so it would remain to be seen what was going to happen. Well, we know the answer now. They're both on exactly the same tyre. I think it is just possible that they might even go through the race non-stop. I know March are trying to, because the Ferrari handles so well. Prost fastest.
Yes.
Aus einem Rückstand von 37 Sekunden greift Prost jetzt an. Das ist die Marchbox. Maurizio Gugelmin, der dritte von Rio, Motor abgestorben. Ja, haben Sie gesehen, die March-Mechaniker haben sofort die Hände weggelassen vom Wagen. Man möchte keine Disqualifikation riskieren. Gugelmin lag vor seinem Boxenstopp an der 12. Stelle.
Berger, the yellow Senna, coming up to turn 7, the 90-mile-an-hour bend. Out of that, up to the highest part of the circuit, almost. That's round turn 8 now. You're looking at Berger with the yellow flashes on the front and rear aerofoils of the Ferrari. Nigel Mansell is 3.8 seconds ahead now on lap 34, 37 still to go. Senna challenging. Maybe he is conserving his tyres better than Gerhard Berger in front of him, and Berger looks as though he's going into the pits. Indeed he is. On lap 35, Gerhard Berger goes into the pits, and Ayrton Senna goes up into second place. So one of the Ferraris has stopped, one of the McLarens has stopped. Let's look at the time. 8 seconds would be a good time, and the Ferrari is away in 6.8 seconds. That has to be one of the fastest 4 tyres and wheel stops I have ever seen in a Grand Prix. A superlatively good time. It's delayed Gerhard Berger the absolute minimum. We know Prost started going faster after he was on fresh rubber. Gerhard Berger will do exactly the same thing. But now on lap 35, which is just about half distance in this 71-lap race, it is Mansell leading Senna by 5.4 seconds, and Senna lapping about 300ths of a second faster, that's all. Berger goes down, Martini is still in 4th position, Patrese 5th, Boutsen 6th, Johansson 7th, Prost is still 8th, Nannini is in 9th place, and everybody up to Nannini has been lapped. In 10th position, Jonathan Palmer, 11th, Nelson Piquet, 12th, Maurizio Gugelmin, Martin Brundle is in 14th place, Derek Warwick is in 17th position, and now Senna goes into the pits, and Mansell stays out. Riding with Nigel Mansell, Ayrton Senna, the second of the 2 McLarens, comes into the pits, and there's Ron Dennis out with a board which says brakes, and that is to tell the driver to keep his foot on the brakes to stop the rear wheels from turning. And that is a slower, much slower pit stop than that of Gerhard Berger. It's twice as long, 12.9 seconds. So, Senna's lost 6 seconds to Berger on the pit stop.
So, very, very important that this pit work be slick. Okay, let's go back to Portugal to Murray and James.
Now we'll look to see if Senna has got out in front of Alain Prost.
While we watch Nigel Mansell, who is certainly making his cars last longer than anybody else. He's now 11.6 seconds ahead of Ayrton Senna. Martini up into third place, and now it's Mansell goes through again.
Yes, and Senna got out just in the nick of time because he's got out not only ahead of Prost, but with a four-car gaggle, or approximately four-car gaggle of back markers between himself and Prost. So he'll be pleased about that. But I shouldn't think he'll be too thrilled with anything else about that lengthy pit stop, or relatively lengthy pit stop.
And that's Senna! It's Senna walking in! Well, I saw the yellow helmet there. I must check on that. I mean, that's an astounding statement to make, and until the cars come by, we're not sure. But I know that Senna had gone down to 5th place. Was that a disgusted and disillusioned and disheartened Ayrton Senna walking in? Well, there is Nigel Mansell still out on his own, and Martini is up into 2nd place now with all these tyre changes. 24 seconds behind the race leader, Nigel Mansell. Patrese in 3rd position, Berger in 4th place. Now, I'm waiting for them to come through. I can't see any more than you can, but this could be an absolutely astounding development which will destroy Ayrton Senna's chances of winning the World Championship, I think, if he's out. But James has got more up-to-date information.
No, it definitely wasn't Senna. The helmet was gold with a red cross on, not yellow like Senna's at all. I think... Is it Moreno? Moreno's already left work for the day. No, it was one of the Dallara drivers, surely. Dallara, there is the Dallara, yes. So that was Cappy. Alex Cappy. So that's Cappy we saw walking back. Yes, the gold and red helmet, that's correct. And it looks like there's been a contretemps there with another car.
Yes, don't get excited until you know your facts. My apologies, but it was also one of the Lotus cars that were out on the run-off area as well. I saw the yellow Lotus. But now let's take a deep breath on lap 38 and see what the situation is. There is race leader Nigel Mansell, who is 25 seconds ahead of Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi in 2nd position, who has got right behind him, as he has had for the whole race, Riccardo Patrese in the Williams. Berger is in 4th place. Senna is 5th. Alain Prost is in 6th position, 5 seconds behind Senna. Stefan Johansson is 7th. Nannini is 8th. Boutsen is 9th. And now here is Mansell crossing the line as one of the Brabhams goes into the pit. And Mansell is closing up on the sole Tyrrell in the race. It's that of Jonathan Palmer.
And you can see Mansell just cleaning his visor then as he came up the pit straight, polishing it with the back of his glove. You can see the hand going across. And I would have thought that Mansell, if he's going to change tyres, ought to be wanting to change them very soon. With shot of the cockpit steering wheel at work there, thrusting away on those hands and holding in big G-forces. And Mansell needs to get in soon because he's got to get in and out. He's got 28-second lead over Martini, and he's going to need all of that with even with a very fast tyre change. And there is the Ferrari crew ready, so it looks very much... Mankis is still on the tyres, but I thought they might have been just taking him off, in which case he's probably announced he's coming next time he comes to start-finish straight.
The Lotus that was out was Nelson Piquet. Moreno's out, De Cesaris is out, Cathy is out, Piquet is out, Senna is not out. Let me repeat. Mansell leads, probably coming into the pits. Let us not forget that with Berger, Prost and Senna having already been into the pits to change tyres, the Goodyear technicians will have looked at their rubber, and it looks to me as though this is Mansell's stop. He's coming into the pit lane now, and he leads. Now I'm going to be watching very carefully to see if Martini goes by before Mansell comes out, in which case the Italian will be in the lead.
Yes, Thierry Boutsen has put up a new fast start to the race on fresh tyres, and there's confusion now. Mansell's missed his pit. This is a disaster for Nigel Mansell. And that is very strange. That is theoretically driver error, but I think the McLaren team weren't giving him a very good sight of his mark, because you come off the mark, so that really is a disastrously long stop for Mansell.
Yeah, I think, to be fair to McLaren, it was the Ferrari mechanic there. I noticed that Nigel had to jink at the very last moment to avoid hitting a Ferrari mechanic. But anyway, now he has taken 20 seconds. I said that Senna's stop was bad. And hello, who's that? It's Warwick. It's Derek Warwick out, and you can see that he's hit something very hard indeed. So Derek Warwick joins the retirement. But the excitement, of course, is all at the front. What a race this has been. This is lap 40 out of 71. And there's Warwick. This is a replay, of course, of Derek Warwick. And something or someone has hit his left front. He's skating in, trying to get back to the pit.
Yes, and he, the Lola Lamborghini had quite a moment then. I don't know whether you saw that tyre smoke. All four wheels were smoking then as he was trying to go around the outside of Warwick and then had to dive back to the inside. But fortunately, he made it. And Warwick wants to move that car a little bit further up the straight if he can.
But while all this has been going on, and you look at Nakajima, there is the new leader coming out, and it's Berger. And right behind Berger is Ayrton Senna. Berger coming up to lap. He's lapping Martini and taking the lead. That was Martini who had led after Mansell had come in for his pit stop. So it's now, you're looking at the first three. So Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari, Martini in the Minardi, and right behind him, Senna in the McLaren Honda, as Gerhard Berger comes up to the Lola of Philippe Alliot to lap him.
Yes, and Berger will be pleased that Martini managed to plant himself firmly in front of Senna as they went into turn one, quite rightly, because remember, Martini is ahead of Senna on the road and the racetrack, although not anymore. Senna regains second place. Berger gets through, and Senna doesn't, and again Berger will be pleased with that, but I think Senna's going in again at the Lola Lamborghini. Remember, it's quite a powerful engine.
So Berger leads, and this is a marvellous race for little Pierluigi Martini, because to be up in third place and actually to have led a Grand Prix for the first time in his life, albeit for a fairly short time, is a very considerable achievement. But over the line to complete 41 laps in this 71 lap goes Gerhard Berger. In second place it is Ayrton Senna. Third is Martini, and he's got Nigel Mansell right behind him. Then Alain Prost. In fact, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds is now covering the first 5 cars. And that's the closest we've had in 1989.
Yes, and up into sixth place now with all the tyre stops has come Stefan Johansson, and he's only a further 4 seconds back. But remember, neither Johansson nor Martini have yet been for tyres.
41. Runde in Eschtoril und Gerhard Berger führt seit einer Runde wieder im Grand-Prix von Portugal. 1,9 Sekunden vor Ayrton Senna. An der dritten Stelle ist immer noch der kleine Italiener Pierluigi Martini mit dem Minardi. Vierter ist Mansell, fünfter Prost, sechster Johansson, siebter Nannini, achter Patrese und neunter Boutsen. Das heißt, die beiden Williams Renault sind etwas zurückgefallen und Gerhard Berger hat nach Hälfte der Distanz wieder die Führung übernommen. Nigel Mansell hatte einen verpatzten Boxenstopp, hat die Box überschossen, musste zurückgerollt werden, hat also gegen die Rennrichtung sich bewegt, wie es im Reglement heißt, und wird möglicherweise disqualifiziert werden müssen. Aber wie gesagt, wollen wir der Entscheidung der Rennkommissäre und des Rennleiters Brunserade des Belgiers nicht vorgreifen. Aber ich kann mich erinnern, Niki Lauda wurde einmal auf dem Hockenheimring 1983 wegen eines solchen Vergehens, weil er die Box überschossen und zurückgeschoben werden musste, disqualifiziert. Eine Runde lang lag der kleine Italiener Martini, ehemaliger Europameister der Formel 3000 in Führung. Gerhard Berger hat ihn dann wieder von der Spitze verdrängt und jetzt die schnellste Runde im Rennen gefahren mit 1:19:289 für Gerhard Berger, der ohnehin hier den offiziellen Rundenrekord hält. Gerhard Bergers Rekordrunde in Eschtoril 1:19:282 im Jahr 1989. Das heißt 1987. Das heißt, Gerhard Berger fehlt es nur noch 7.000 Sekunden und dann hat er offiziell den eigenen Rundenrekord aufgestellt vor 2 Jahren hier im Autodrom von Eschtoril verbessert. Erster Berger, zweiter Senna, dritter Menzel, vierter Martini, fünfter Prost, sechster Johansson, siebenter Nannini, achter Patrese, neunter Putzen, 10. Vollmer. Das ist im Augenblick die Reihung im Grand-Pri von Portugal nach der 42. Runde. Gerhard Berger mit der schnellsten Runde im Rennen in Führung. 3,4 Sekunden jetzt vor Weltmeister Ayrton Senna, der unbedingt gewinnen müsste, um seine Chance noch Weltmeister zu werden oder seinen Titel noch erfolgreich verteidigen zu können, zu wahren. Gerhard Berger führt 3,4 Sekunden vor Senna und 6,5 Sekunden vor Menzel. Allerdings ein englischer Teamkollege unter Disqualifikationsverdacht.
Weight, which is 7/1000ths of a second outside the lap record. So we can expect the lap record to go any minute. Getting back to what I said about the pit stops, it wasn't entirely Mansell's fault. He had to swerve to get out of the way of an errant mechanic, and that could very well have cost him the race. It was a fairly costly pit stop for Nigel, so let's hope that he can make up the deficit that he lost in the pits. Looks like a McLaren's just been back in the pits there, but maybe it wasn't. I think it was Pierluigi Martini making his first pit stop for tyres. All right, let's go back to Portugal to James Hunt and Murray Walker.
Fastest 1:19.213, which is half a second faster than Berger and over more than that faster than Senna. Here is Berger completing his 44th lap. Senna in the background, then Mansell.
It's amazing. The two Williamses, having been looking as if they were tied together by a piece of string up until their tyre stops, they're looking exactly the same again in the same order. Mansell improves his new lap record by another couple of tenths down to 19.047. And as I say, the two Williamses, still Patrese heading Thierry Boutsen, and Boutsen right behind him, looking for a way round.
Senna with Mansell getting closer all the time. It was 1.5 seconds at the end of the previous lap. You can see for yourselves that it is certainly not that now, because Senna is being held up. He's going through. Now Mansell's got to do the same thing. Senna chops across the front of Nakajima's Lotus, which is in 12th position. Mansell follows through and actually does a cleaner job of passing the Japanese driver than did Senna.
Yes, well, that was very good gentlemanly driving by Nakajima, because he stayed wide. He moved off the racing line and gave Nigel Mansell a fair run, and I'm sure that will get a little acknowledgement of thanks from Mansell. So, tremendous view now of Mansell's task, and that is, his immediate task is to get on first of all on terms with Ayrton Senna and then find a way round. He did it earlier in the race, so he knows he can do it. He's not quite close enough, I don't think, this time to take benefit from the tow. I think he'll need to be about 3 lengths closer than that as they come onto the pit straight. It's difficult to tell with that foreshortened head-on shot just exactly how far they are apart as they approach so far away down at the other end of the straight. But I think there's no doubt that Mansell is the fastest man on the circuit. But he's got a clear circuit. He's now climbing all over the back of Ayrton Senna. It'd be really nice to see it from Mansell's camera just right beside his head. So it's very close to being his view. Having a look. But only a short dab on the brake there. Not really room to get in position. Down the hill. Hard on the brakes. The right-hander.
This is lap 46, and there is no doubt about the fact that Nigel Mansell can get past, or is there? Because Senna is easing away again.
But it's these last few corners where Nigel's got to get very close, so he's close on to the final start-finish race, and we've got a black and white flag. But we'd rather be watching the back of Senna's car from that of Nigel Mansell. And to whom is that being held? Black flag and a number. We need to see the number. Black flag with a number held up means that that person who owns that number has to come into the pits.
I think it was being shown to Senna. I can only surmise, and to use that word again, hypothesize, that Senna's car may be throwing out oil. It's been spotted and they want him to come in. But he won't be at all anxious to do that, of course. That really would ruin his World Championship chances. We'll see. The black flag means, if it's shown with a number, must stop at the pit within 1 lap and report to the clerk of the course. I can see Senna getting out of his car and marching off to find the clerk of the course. Lap 47, 24 laps to go. Berger leads now by 5.3 seconds. He's pulled away from this battle between Senna in second place, Mansell in third position. Prost is 7 seconds behind Mansell in fourth position. The World Championship leader, Alain Prost. Fifth is Stefan Johansson, and that is a magnificent performance in the Onyx. He was fastest in pre-qualifying. He finished, of course, in fifth position in France to get the first point for Onyx. In sixth position is Patrese, still ahead of his teammate Boutsen. There is Berger passing, and it is Senna. It is Senna. It's either Senna or Mansell, and I can't see why it should be Nigel Mansell, but that flag is again being shown to as they go past.
Unless they're showing it to Mansell for being pushed backwards down the pit road, which is theoretically illegal, I believe, even though it was only a car length. It could be Mansell if somebody's being really ridiculous on the rules, but that's a guess of mine, and it's only a guess, and I hope nothing petty like that is happening to Mansell, and I hope nothing petty like bringing somebody in for just hazing out a bit of oil that isn't actually making the track dangerous, which would be the case in Senna, if you're right about Senna throwing oil, Murray. But we need to see the number that they're hanging out. We can't tell. I see a 27, don't I, through the man's legs. I think I didn't look like a 1 to me. Now, Bernie Eccleston was going up on the rostrum there, looking like a man intent on remonstrating with the officials. Bernie Eccleston is the boss of Boca. He also is part of Pisa as Mansell. Yeah, we do think that's a 27 on the board, so now I'm quite sure Mansell will ignore that and be told to by Ferrari until such time as it can be sorted out. And Eccleston will be up there remonstrating, and they're waving it hard to Mansell, who will claim he can't see it because he's looking up right up Senna's wing.
And Mansell is trying to go through, goes off, both of them. Senna and Mansell, and Senna's out of the race. His right rear wheel is cocking right up in the air. And so that's the answer for Nigel Mansell. He was right to stay out. Now Berger is away on his own now. And Senna again. Let's see if this replay. Here it is.
Yeah, and Mansell, a very desperate temper. He's got to see the black flag as well. Senna, I think Mansell was alongside him. Senna, without any doubt, caused that. Mine like to see it again, but Senna just need to move in when Mansell was filling the road inside him. That was quite clearly down Senna, and that may, I'm sure, that could well cost Senna the World Championship, because he's taken away a lot of points with Mansell being black flag. Senna didn't need to defend against Mansell. He certainly would have been able to see that number 27 was being black flag. He therefore knew he didn't have to race Mansell, and that is very unprofessional driving with Senna, I'm afraid, taking himself out of the race, and he has thrown, quite possibly, thrown his championships away. And just look at him. He knows it. He is distraught with himself, I am absolutely sure. Irrespective of what he says later, I'm sure he will be quite distraught with himself for, after all, attacking a car that you weren't even racing anymore, because you know, even though he hasn't got into the pit, he's being black flagged, and for sure he'll be out of it. So Prost looks like the charmed light that's been with him has been, well, Berger we see in the lead, a new lap record, but another new lap record, I should say. But the drama of the race, undoubtedly, Mansell keeping going, although the black flag was being shown to him, and then making to pass Senna, which he'd done, and then Senna just simply driving into him and attacking him. Here we see it once more. Mansell comes out, up with the toe. Now, as they come into the braking area, Mansell's on the inside with plenty alongside. Senna could see him now. And Senna knew that Mansell would come alongside him. Mansell was committed, and that undoubtedly was Senna's fault.
And my mind goes back to that Belgian Grand Prix when Senna in the Lotus and Mansell in the Williams had a coming together in very similar circumstances much earlier in the race, and that resulted in Nigel Mansell marching down to Senna's pit and having a pretty violent confrontation with him. Berger leads, 50 laps completed.
Yes, and on that occasion, I instantly blamed Senna, having seen it very quickly and not such a good view with replay that we saw this time, and I was wrong and withdrew it. A couple of weeks later, when I next had an opportunity, having seen it properly, it was certainly Mansell's fault, but this time, no doubt in my mind anyway, that Senna was entirely Senna's own fault for that, because apart from anything else, he knew that Mansell wasn't racing him, in theory.
Er bespricht sich gerade mit seinem Pressechef Franco. Es geht natürlich darum, eine einigermaßen plausible Erklärung für die Millionen Ferrari-Fans in der ganzen Welt zu finden, was Nigel Mansell da alles eingefallen ist. Unglaublich, 3 oder 4 Runden die schwarze Flagge. Ayrton Senna, in diesem Augenblick, glaube ich, wird auch er sich denken, dass die Weltmeisterschaft jetzt verloren ist. Auch wenn es theoretisch heute noch nicht so weit sein kann. Egal, auch auch wenn Prost heute gewinnt. Berger 16 Sekunden vor Prost, noch 20 Runden zu fahren. Prost müsste also schon fast eine Sekunde in jeder Runde aufholen, um noch zu Gerhard Berger aufzuschließen. Dritter ist Johansson, der mit der Entscheidung aber nichts mehr zu tun haben wird. 34 Sekunden Abstand auf den führenden Gerhard Berger. Ja, Portugal, Gerhard Bergers Lieblings-Grand Prix, seine Lieblingsrennstrecke, abgesehen vom Österreich, denke ich auch im nächsten Jahr nicht am Kalender aufscheinen wird. Die Saison 1990 beginnt am 11. März mit dem Grand Prix der USA in Phoenix in Arizona. Zweiter Lauf, nicht mehr der erste, ist Rio. Die gleichen 16 Rennen wie auch in diesem Jahr, auch in fast der gleichen Reihenfolge. Berger 17 Sekunden vor Prost nach 51 Runden. Dritter Johansson mit dem Onyx. Damit erspart Johansson dem neuen Onyx-Team von Mike Earl im nächsten Jahr auf alle Fälle die Vorqualifikation, weil zu den 2 Punkten, die Johansson schon hat, kommen jetzt 4 weitere dazu mit 6 Punkten. Das müsste eigentlich reichen für eine Platzierung unter den ersten 13 der Markenwertung. Gerhard Berger in seinem 80. Grand Prix. 4 Siege, 4-mal Pole Position, 9-mal die schnellste.
And going stronger and stronger. I have to agree with James Hunt. I think that was Senna's fault. Even he must have seen the black flag being given to Mansell. And even if he didn't see the black flag, really it was Mansell's corner, and you just don't out-bluff someone like Mansell because they've had a few comings together in the past. He knows that Mansell's a pretty tough customer, and you don't try and bluff him out of a corner in that sort of manner because that's where you end up, in the sand. It's certainly, I think, I mean, Senna does this occasionally, and this is what Prost doesn't do. And when you're in 2 identical cars that are dominant, the bloke who doesn't do that sort of thing is very consistent, will inevitably win the World Championship. Senna is a quicker driver, he's a more aggressive driver, he'll probably win more races than Prost, but that's exactly the sort of thing that they call Prost the Professor, because he just doesn't do those sort of things, and that's what probably make him World Champion again. All right, let's go back live now to Portugal. Murray Walker and James Hunt.
Yes, and Alain Prost, it would appear, needs, Ayrton Senna needs 2 wins and a 2nd place to tie the championship on points if Prost finishes 2nd and takes 6 points today, and then he would win it on wins, or alternatively he can do it in real style by winning the last 3 races. But the championship now pretty much headed in Prost and Ferrari's direction.
Well, that's a Ferrari coming into the pits now. Mansell, we know, is out of the race and walking in. Now, why are we seeing this? So that's the replay, my apologies.
This is the replay of his pit stop that would have got him disqualified with the infringement being shown that was the cause of him being black flagged. There we are, we see him being pushed backwards, and this is an illegal manoeuvre. It does seem to be an awful hair split. That's a silly rule.
I would like to see some shots of that, because I thought at the time that Mansell had actually reversed the car under its own power. I remember thinking as he went back that was a good move, because I did not see any Ferrari mechanics pushing the car, in which case that would have been what all the altercation was about, in showing Mansell the black flag to pull him in. And no wonder Cesare Fiorio, the Ferrari team manager, told him stay right where you are, Nigel. Alain Prost we look at now. The winner in Phoenix, France, Britain, Italy, double world champion, 5 second places. It looks as though he's going to make it 6 second places. There were rumours that Honda were giving favoured treatment to Senna. I personally do not believe it for one moment. Why on earth should they? But anyway, Alain Prost is firmly on his way to his 6th second place of 1989. An amazing record. 4 first places, 6 second places if he stays where he is. And add to that a 4th place, because he will now be dropping the 5th place points, the 2 points that he got in Mexico. And for the second race in succession, his teammate Ayrton Senna scores nothing.
Yes, of course, if Prost either wins a race or comes second, he will gain, if he had another second place, he would gain a couple of points. And that would mean Senna would have to win the last 3. And of course, if Prost wins the race, which also helps his score along, then it's all over for Senna. So it's a pretty long shot, but strange things have happened, and Senna is a man who's certainly comfortably capable of winning the last 3 races. That is for sure.
Well, with Berger comfortably in front, and as you watch Alain Prost, let's say a few very complimentary and very well-deserved things about Stefan Johansson and the British Onyx team with its Belgian money backing, because Stefan Johansson is in a fine 3rd place, albeit 41 seconds behind Gerhard Berger, 5 seconds ahead of Riccardo Patrese, who is some 10 seconds ahead of Thierry Boutsen, who is in 5th position. Alessandro Nannini in the Benetton is in 6th place. And you're looking now into the McLaren pits, into the McLaren garage, and in the background you can see all the Honda telemetry equipment, and you can see Ayrton Senna leaning against one of the monitors. And now that is Johansson in the background in the distinctively coloured car, the bluish car with the big white stripe on the front. That is the Onyx, and its first year of Grand Prix racing under the leadership of Mike Earl, the car designed by Alan Jenkins, ex-McLaren, and he is in 3rd place, Stefan Johansson.
Yes, Johansson doing very well, running without a tyre stop. He hasn't stopped yet, but presumably is trying to go the distance, although Patrese is catching him from behind. Riccardo Patrese, there you see in the background, Johansson, that's it he needs. Get past the Minardi. What important points these would be for the Onyx team if they can sustain this tremendous run to the end of the race. They desperately need points because they want to get into that select group of teams that doesn't have to pre-qualify. Their car is a very good little car, but pre-qualifying is a bit of a lottery, but with just an hour of practice first thing in the morning, if anything goes wrong with the car, as the session gets quicker and quicker, you really have no chance. So you can't have any sort of mechanical failure during that hour, or your chances are really seriously hurt.
Yes, and Stefan, the lead car that you're looking at now, is his 7th Formula One team. There is Riccardo Patrese in 4th position in the new FW13 Williams. And Johansson's driven for Shadow and Spirit and Tolman and Tyrrell and Ferrari and McLaren. And he's driving magnificently in this race for his 7th team, Onyx. Now, Patrese is definitely catching the Onyx, no doubt about that. Patrese, who, like Alain Prost, has had a superb 1989 Grand Prix season in the Williams, is making the most of this new car. They were making some suspension adjustments to it yesterday, and it looks as though there's going to be a change very shortly. Now there is the Williams. And the Onyx ahead, driven by Stefan Johansson, is in third place. Berger has gone through to complete his 57th lap in this 71-lap race. And I remind you that Nigel Mansell and Ayrton Senna, who were battling for second place, with Mansell having been shown the black flag for a reason we're not too clear about, but imagine was because he went backwards when he came into his pit to change tyres, are both out of the Portuguese Grand Prix after a violent collision at turn 1, and they are both perfectly all right and have walked in. Now, this is Johansson, the lead car, Patrese behind him in fourth position. There's a long gap now before the fifth place man, and sure enough, the Pirelli technicians who told me that they thought their tyres would go off later in the race have been proved to be right, with Thierry Boutsen in fifth position. Martini, little Pierluigi Martini, who at one time led the Portuguese Grand Prix, is slipping down all the time. He's now in seventh position behind Alessandro Nannini, who, as you can see, is in sixth position. Well, what a race. I keep on saying that these days Grand Prix racing is getting even more exciting.
Yes, and I don't suppose that we'll hear the end of the black flag incident for some time, even though it was resolved on the track rather than over arguing, because the two cars, or Mansell being the man being black flagged, was taken out of the race anyway, so the whole thing become academic. But I can't see that the Ferrari team will want to let it go without at least discussing it.
And there's Patrese going for third, pulls out from the slipstream of Stefan Johansson's Onyx and takes that third position. Car number 6, SW13, Williams Renault, its first Grand Prix, now in third position.
Yes, that was a good illustration of the power of the Williams, because he absolutely walked past Johansson. He had clear air before they'd even got to the braking area, and yet Johansson was actually able to go tuck in behind him. They're not even on the brakes yet, so the 10-cylinder engine, as we knew it did, punching out plenty of power. Certainly compared.
Böses 13. Rennen für Ayrton Senna. 7 Ausfälle in diesem Jahr und nur 6-mal im Ziel. 5-mal allerdings als Sieger und einmal als Zweiter. Geschlagen nur von Mansell, ausgerechnet Mansell in Budapest. Ich kann mir nur vorstellen, dass der Frust von Mansell, der 3 Runden lang die schwarze Flagge bekommen hat, so groß war, dass ihm alles egal war. Hat seinem nächsten Teamkollegen Alain Prost einen ganz großen Gefallen getan. Berger, Prost, Patrese, Johansson, Boutsen und Nannini, die ersten 6. Runde, 12 Runden noch. Berger Sportkamera. Gang, vierter Gang, dann die steile Bergaufkurve, dann wieder in den vierten Gang. Gerhard Berger in seiner 61. Runde, noch 10,5 Runden bis zur Zielflagge im Grand-Pri von Portugal. Und der Vorsprung von Gerhard Berger auf Prost ist auf 24 Sekunden angewachsen.
You're riding race leader, record lap holder, and he's coming up to lap now. Let's just see who it is. Coming up to lap Pierluigi Martini, I think. Coming down, yes it is. It's Martini in front, and he is in 7th position, and here's Nigel Mansell. Now this is a replay of the pit stop. Now you can see there were no McLaren mechanics in the way. For some reason or another, Nigel failed to go into the square of Ferrari mechanics. Now watch the car and let's see if he goes backwards before any Ferrari mechanics start pulling it. Yes, well, it's a moot point. There were Ferrari mechanic hands on it, but I reckon that it went backwards under its own engine power. Now who's gone off there? From the yellow coving, it's either Patrese or one of the Minardis. Well, as ever, it's all happening at the end of the race. That banner obliterates us. And car number 5 there is Thierry Boutsen in the pit. And from the way he's being manhandled, now is he in the car or not? I think Thierry Boutsen is out of the Portuguese Grand Prix. This is lap 62. Berger leads Prost by 24 seconds. And Patrese is missing and Johansson is back in 3rd place. So that will help Martini with Nannini up into 4th position. Here is Gerhard Berger, who has left Pierluigi Martini, who I reckon therefore, yes he is, in 6th position. Race order on lap 62 in this 71 lap race, which has not been without interest and significant developments for its whole. There's Boutsen out. And I know that there are many thousands of viewers in Australia, probably where it's the early hours of the morning, watching this and listening to James and myself. And I said that I thought the championship might go down to Adelaide. Well, it might yet, but welcome all of you.
Yes, indeed, and championship or not, we're certainly looking forward to our annual visit to Australia and to the Australian Grand Prix. And we've had a couple of them already that weren't championship deciders, and the race lost nothing for that in terms of its atmosphere and the entertainment and the sport of it. And it is, of course, as I'm sure you all know, one of the most popular weekends on the whole calendar. It has a lovely end-of-term atmosphere, and although there's plenty of partying, that takes place after the race, but the atmosphere is there throughout. Everybody does a full-scale job, and then we really enjoy ourselves, so we're looking forward to seeing you.
Gerhard Berger is looking forward to seeing the checkered flag, and it shouldn't be all that long now. He has just completed his 63rd lap in this 71-lap race, on his way to his first victory of 1989, his first since last year.
And Australia just finally, please don't come back and tell me you're in the middle of a commercial break this time, because that was the last time I made a speech. That's what happened.
Well, Berger will be metaphorically praying that the Ferrari holds together. Hopefully there's no reason why it shouldn't, because usually if there is going to be a problem in a car, it will have manifested itself by now. And he's settled down to a nice steady lap of just over 1 minute 22, which is 3 seconds slower than he has shown he can go when he has to. Of course, there's no problem with tyres. He came in around about lap 34 at half distance to change his Goodyear tyres, and he's now well on his way. The gap is constantly increasing. He's lapping about 0.2 of a second faster than Prost, and the gap is 24 seconds now. Johansson is 26 seconds behind Prost, still in 3rd position, of course, now that both the Williams are out. We've seen Boutsen in the pits. We saw what was obviously Patrese's car being pushed away, although it was very difficult to identify from the rear. It might have been one of the Minardis, but now Moreno out, De Cesaris out, Cathy out, PK, Warwick, Pena, of course, Mansell, that tremendously spectacular coming together at turn 1 on lap 48, Boutsen and Patrese. And on lap 65, in the closing stages of the Portuguese Grand Prix, which is always exciting. Here's a replay of Mansell.
Yes, and his problem was he jinked round the wrong side of the Ferrari mechanics, because those people as he went round were actually waiting to do a left-hand wheel of the car, but he didn't get pushed back. He went back to his own reverse gear, and I don't think that's an infringement of the rules, but then the rules are so petty and silly about things like that. I can't be sure whether it's being pushed backwards in the pits, which we know is not allowed, or whether it's going backwards in the pits at all. If under your own power says it's okay, then he didn't break any rules, because definitely they left the car alone. They went towards it, but then they let him come back under his own steam.
Well, my rules guru, Mike Boutsen, has reminded me that it is indeed forbidden to go backwards anyway. Pushed back, driven back, blown back, whatever, you transgress the rules if you go backwards. So that was the reason. It's irrelevant now because Mansell is out. We're on lap 66. There are 4 laps to go at the end of this one. The Portuguese Grand Prix always turns out to be an exciting event. I remember when Ayrton Senna won here in the most appalling rain, his first victory driving a Lotus Renault in 1985. Then the 86, 87 and 88 events were all equally exciting in their different ways. And now you're looking at Alain Prost coming up to lap Jonathan Palmer, who is in the points, because Jonathan Palmer in the Tyrrell, who is about to be caught and lapped by Alain Prost, is in 6th position. And on the end of lap 66, Berger leading Prost, the man you're looking at now, double world champion and 4 times a winner this year, 5 times second this year. He's going to make it 6th. 25 seconds behind Berger, 26 seconds ahead of Johansson, who is going to be on the podium for the first time since he drove for McLaren, and that of course was last year. And I'm waiting now with Gerhard Berger on his 67th lap to see what the gap is between himself and the little Frenchman Alain Prost, who will undoubtedly be in much better humour after the Portuguese Grand Prix than he was after the Italian Grand Prix, when he was sounding off at anybody who cared to listen to him, which meant the whole world, about how unfairly he had been treated by his team and their engine supplier. Well, there's been very serious meetings about that since the Italian Grand Prix. Prost has agreed not to open his mouth in public again without speaking to the McLaren and Honda bosses about any grievance he may have first, and we hope that that hatchet has been buried. But now Berger lapping faster than Prost, the second faster than Prost, is 26 seconds ahead of the Frenchman. Johansson still third.
Yes, because there was a powerful feeling that most of Prost's complaints were more imagined than real, and certainly I've watched his speed track times very closely all weekend, this weekend, and really that would not be incorrect to say that Senna had an engine advantage. In fact, in the warm-up today on race trim, Prost's speed track times were marginally better than Senna's, although Senna had actually lapped quicker in the warm-up this morning. But so I think one can say that they have very equal equipment, and that has largely been the case. Prost, for the first time in his career, I think, got a little bit over-emotional and lost objectivity, or certainly the first time in his career as a Grand Prix driver, and his behaviour was a little bit over the top.
Well, I really do hesitate to say that it's all over bar the shouting, because if you say that, then there's going to be a lot of shouting, because something dramatic will happen. But the leader, Gerhard Berger, has got only 3 laps to go of this 2.7-mile Estoril circuit after the completion of this lap, before he sees the checkered flag for his first win of 1989. And it will have been truly well deserved. Gerhard Berger, an extremely likeable, cheerful Austrian whose hobbies when he's not in the car, and we're in the car with him now, doing about 180 miles an hour down to turn 1 as he completes lap 69. He's 68. He's on his 69th lap with just 2 more to go after this one. And I was saying that Gerhard Berger, an extremely cheerful and pleasant chap. His hobby when he's not racing motor cars is to go skiing, to play ice hockey. He had a dreadful saloon car crash at one point in his career, which nearly put a finish not only to his Grand Prix career, but to Gerhard Berger. It was a road crash, and he was very lucky that the next car that came along and found him in the car was driven by a specialist in the complaint that Berger had got, namely a broken neck. Had it not been that man, Berger might not be with us today. But he certainly is on lap 69. And this, of course, is going to be another win for Ferrari. They've just chipped away at developing the car, the engine, that unique gearbox, the John Barnard chassis. And there are rumours now, incidentally, that now that Prost, who gets on extremely well with John Barnard, is going to Ferrari next year, John Barnard may reverse his decision to leave Ferrari and stay. Gerhard Berger completes lap 69. Into lap 70, just this one, and lap 71. So Nigel Mansell won the first Grand Prix of the year for Ferrari, totally against anybody's expectations, including his own, I think it's fair to say. Then he had a long period of drought before really coming good in Hungary, where he won, having already finished second in France and Britain and third in Germany. And I'm talking about Nigel Mansell because there was nothing to say about Gerhard Berger at that time except bad luck, Gerhard, for race after race. Because if there was a problem with the Ferrari, for a long, long time, Berger seemed to have it and not Mansell. Now you can see what it's like to be driving with a Grand Prix winner. Gerhard Berger with the camera mounted on his car, out of turn 7, climbing at about 130 miles an hour underneath the banner there, turn 8. Now he's at the highest part of the course, goes through the left and the right and the left into turn 11, and as he does so you will see the long straight stretching ahead of you, and you will know that you, with Berger, are starting the last lap of the Portuguese Grand Prix and riding with the potential winner.
Yes, indeed. And what a tremendous change it is to see Ferrari winning on merit, and a really healthy, refreshing change after the McLaren domination has become really quite monotonous, because this is their second Grand Prix win on merit this season over McLaren, because Hungary was certainly, they won on merit. They beat the McLaren fair and square, and they've done it again today. Doesn't matter that there was a contretemps between Mansell and Senna. Mansell was quicker, and he'd passed and pulled away from Senna once. He was in the process of passing him for the second time, and then threatening to pull away after what will always now be a controversial pit stop. But then Senna ended the problem and discussion and everything by driving into Mansell, who was already committed on his inside for the overtaking manoeuvre. So a dramatic and exciting race, a tremendous win for Ferrari and for Gerhard Berger, who's had such a dismal season till now, but he'll be well thrilled with that, and altogether a good Grand Prix entertainment.
Gerhard Berger comes out of the last corner of the last lap to win the third Grand Prix for Ferrari of 1989, and the first for himself, the Portuguese Grand Prix. A wave from Berger, bags of cheers from the crowd. Berger is obviously delighted, and it's going to be, subject to official confirmation, Alain Prost 30 seconds behind in second place and making the World Championship almost his. Stefan Johansson in third position, Alessandro Nannini fourth, Pierluigi Martini fifth, and Jonathan Palmer gets the point for himself and Tyrrell by finishing in sixth position, and there he was doing it. That is Prost finishing second. Ferrari wins, McLaren in second place, but on Onyx in third position on the podium for the first time. And Nigel Mansell, of course, having led the Portuguese Grand Prix, goes out under the most controversial circumstances, but had the consolation of a really fine drive and the knowledge that Ferrari, his team, has won.
Vor allem diese Kollision zwischen Senna und Mansell ist 4 oder 5 Sekunden hinter Gerhard Berger passiert, hatte also mit dem Sieg des Österreichers überhaupt nichts zu tun. Stefan Johansson, der Schwede, freut sich über seinen 3. Platz. Zum ersten Mal also auch ein Fahrer des neuen englischen Onyx-Teams auf dem Stockerl. Erster Gerhard Berger mit einem Vorsprung von 32 Sekunden auf Alain Prost. Dritter ist Stefan Johansson auf Onyx mit einem Rückstand von 54 Sekunden. An der 4. Stelle Alessandro Nannini mit dem Benetton Ford. 5. ist Pierluigi Martini, der gleiche überraschende gute Platz wie im Training. Eine Runde hat er auch im Rennen geführt und an 6. Stelle ein Punkt noch für Jonathan Palmer mit dem Tyrrell. Begeisterung um Gerhard Berger und nur die ersten 4 hier in der gleichen Runde. Berger, Prost, Johansson und Nannini überrundet. Martini und Palmer und die weitere Reihung. 7. Nakajima, 8. Brandl, 9. Alliot, 10. Gugelmin, 11. Alboreto, 12. Sala, 13. Anu und 14. Modena. Ferrari-Flaggen, das ist ein Fanclub aus Wörgl, der direkt vis-à-vis von den Boxen Aufstellung genommen hat. Große Begeisterung. Und herzlichen Glückwunsch noch einmal an Gerhard Berger zu einem großartigen Sieg im Grand Prix von Portugal. Weltmeisterschaft. Prost jetzt 24 Punkte vor Senna. 3. Mansell. 4. Patrese, 5. Butzen und 6. Nannini. Gerhard Berger hat jetzt auch schon 15 Punkte, 9 in Portugal und 6 in Monza. Die Autos kommen jetzt in den Parc Fermé, wo zur Sicherheit noch einmal kontrolliert werden. Ferrari, Flaggen und große Begeisterung bei Ferrari über den heutigen Sieg. McLaren Honda hat im Parallelbewerb der Konstrukteure jetzt einen neuen Verfolger bekommen, aber Ferrari kann nicht mehr diesen Bewerb gewinnen. McLaren Honda steht seit Monza als Sieger im Parallelbewerb der Konstrukteure bereits fest. 2. Ferrari, 3. Williams, Renault. Die neuen Autos haben eine verheißungsvolle Vorstellung gegeben, aber das Ziel haben sie heute nicht gesehen. Ferraris Sieg überstrahlt alles. Gerhard Berger gewinnt in Esteril.